Hi everybody, welcome to the Economic Exchange webinar on digital strategies for community businesses. Great to have you join us this afternoon. We're going to be going through for about an hour, so the speakers have got their various bits of insight and knowledge to share with you throughout the webinar, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. For those of you who haven't used GoToWebinar before, you can use the Q&A panel to ask questions, and then we can work through those one at a time at the end of the session. You should all be able to see my screen. I've got a PowerPoint on, and I'll be handing over to different presenters throughout the session. Please do drop me any lines if there's any issues. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So we'll start the session. So thanks for arriving promptly. So the agenda of today's Economic Exchange event is all about using digital skills and tools to help you develop and manage relationships with your local community. And this is important for an organisation, particularly community businesses, who want to engage with their community to develop relationships and engage people in volunteering as supporters, investors, beneficiaries, customers and partners. There's lots of ways that people might get involved in your organisation, and so we'll be looking about how you can help support this process through data management, tools and systems, analytics, your communication strategy, and we'll be then reinforcing that with some case studies and sources of funding to potentially help take some of these things into reality. We do these events every couple of months to really just share insight, work with different partners and share expertise to help organisations really transform and improve the way they work. So I'm Heather Black, Managing Director of Economic Change. I've been supporting non-profits and social enterprises and charities for 16 years, develop their strategies around business strategy, communication strategies, impact measurement strategies, and translating that into systems and processes so you can analyse it real time. So I'll be telling you a bit about what Economic Change does today in terms of the topic I'm talking about. Joining us is Talia King, who's one of our own marketing manager at Economic Change, but also a marketing consultant. And she'll be talking about how to develop a strategy for your digital and marketing campaigns. So she comes from an academic point of view as well as a practical point of view, working with community businesses, and has been involved in the sector for a long time, having had senior marketing positions at Social Investment Business and also Charities Aid Foundation, where she was directly working with community businesses. So she'll have a lot of nuggets to share with you. And then we've got Charlotte Castan from Communications Manager from Power to Change. So Charlotte will be sharing some practical case studies around where community businesses have used social media to engage their audiences successfully, and she'll be talking about the different grant programs that Power to Change offers, so you're aware of those. About Economic Change, so just to introduce myself, I set up Economic Change 11 years ago to really work with third sector organisations, which include, as I say, social enterprises, charities, non-profits, community businesses, to help them think through an end-to-end solution to their management strategies, really. So it's about we sit down with organisations and ask them, what are you aiming to achieve? What are your business goals or your organisational goals? What's your strategy to get there? How are you going to manage that process? How are you going to analyse it? What are your systems and tools to do that? And then how are you going to measure the impact of your organisation? So we work with local, very small local organisations to international organisations to really help them implement management solutions across all of these areas. So some of that will come to light today. So to give context to this webinar, we focus on community businesses because they are an audience that particularly needs to engage with a local community. So a community business, as defined by Power to Change, is about one that is accountable to their local geographical area, and that the profits they generate through trading deliver positive local impact. So typically these can be shops, farms, pubs, health facilities, community centres, business centres, or call centres. It's really, any type of organisation that operates in that way could be classed as a community business. And typically they have a non-profit legal structure, so a charity, a social enterprise, which could be a community interest company, cooperative, trust. They actively trade to support and sustain beneficiary services. So there's a link to read more. I will send out the PowerPoint with the a copy of the webinar today. But the tools and tips that we're going to share today are applicable more widely than just to community businesses if you want to engage with a local audience. So please do, if you're not from a community business per se, everything you'll learn today will be relevant to that sort of that marketing strategy. So why is this important to community businesses and this topic that we're looking at? Well, within the Power to Change State of the Market 2016 research report, the support of the community was the most successful factor for community businesses. So having the support of the community was paramount to their success. So fundamentally, the community lies at the heart of a community business. So my assumption from that, and what I'd love to test through some research, is that if a community business uses digital tools and practices, is it the case that they will ultimately be more successful in raising investment or sales than those who don't use digital tools? They rely on more traditional methods. I can't claim if that is true or not. I would love to do some research around it, so I will be asking you as part of the follow-up webinar, as a follow-up form, whether you'll be interested in participating in such research if we did it, and that's something I'd love to explore and be able to share those findings with the audience here today, and certainly a wide audience. In terms of the importance, community businesses have an important responsibility to manage communications effectively because they are accountable to their community. The community get involved in lots of different ways, whether they're an investor or on the board, or they're volunteering, or they're staff members. So it's different to a typical business. There is a level of accountability that they need to have to actually gather, analyse people's views and communicate that response to people to make sure they're visible and transparent. But alongside that, they need to engage their community and generate awareness, gather perspectives and sort of evidence market needs and demand throughout their life cycle as a business, an organisation developing their strategy. And once they've got their strategy in place, they then need to market what's on offer to the community and get them to be involved in that and generate sales through trading. So there's lots of different communication, sort of different strategies needed in different ways. So we'll be sort of building on that throughout the webinar. So I'm initially going to talk about capturing information and managing information, and then we're going to move on to about pushing information out, because the reality is a lot of people start with push. They basically go, right, we're just going to push information out to people and we're going to gather the minimum about people. So, we're just going to send out emails or newsletters, use social media, website, text. So you push a lot out. But where marketing and communication strategies really sort of come into their own is where you start capturing information about people and understanding who they are, and then using a client relationship management system to really then start analysing and segmenting and understanding who your stakeholders are. So I'm going to be talking a bit about capturing information, which you could do through, for example, sign-up forms, online surveys, online payment processes, and application forms, and taking it digital in that way. So rather than people filling in paper copies, they can fill in these online forms and give you useful data. So we'll talk about what you want to know in a minute, but you're capturing useful information that you can use. And as I say, in the second sort of box here, you've got, once you understand who your stakeholders are, you can segment them by interest, understand the level of engagement with you, you can log your interactions with them, whether it's a phone call or an email, or whether they came to an event, and then you can start to analyse it and create some intelligence. And then you can start your pushing information out, because you can really start to segment and address those specific interests and needs in different ways. So that's really what we're going to unpack today. So focusing first on capturing and client relationship management. Communication methods. So these are all the different ways I want you to think through how you gather information from people. So as a community business and organisation looking to go digital, what we want you to think about is, one, have a CRM at the heart. You need you need a system, a CRM, a client relationship management system, that is going to collect and hold data in an intelligent way. Now, ideally what you want to start to do is to collect information that automatically integrates with the CRM. The worst case scenario is that you can use an online form tool and import it into the CRM. That's doable and is better than nothing. That's fine. Ideally, if you can get tools that integrate with your CRM, i.e. somebody fills an online form and it immediately goes into your CRM, then it's collecting data automatically and that reduces administration. So that's kind of the ultimate. But as I say, the worst but okay situation is that you're gathering data and importing it into a CRM system. So ways that you can collect data, as I've mentioned, you can create an online form. Now, an online form you might use for market research, it might be an application form, it might be a newsletter sign-up form. There's various different things that you might use an online form for. It might be feedback forms, etc. So having a tool to allow you to do online forms will be very valuable, and as I say, getting it to integrate and putting that data into a CRM system so you can retain it and analyze it in one place is very valuable. You can get some offline forms, they're in effect online forms in that you can access them via your laptop or an app, but you don't have to be on a 4G or Wi-Fi connection at that point in time. So it means that somebody can fill in a form via a browser or an app, but when you go online, i.e. reconnect to the Wi-Fi, that information will then get uploaded into your CRM. So we're not talking about Word documents still, we're talking about sort of online forms of a certain type, but those that will sync and allow you to access them when you're not perhaps got coverage. The third is actually you could give your stakeholders access to your CRM. So we've worked with quite a lot of organisations who manage volunteers, and they actually provide a user license to us, a CRM system for their volunteers. Obviously they limit the access to information and data fields that the volunteers only need to see, so it's secure, but that's one way of doing it, is that with the CRM you might be able to offer user licenses that are either free or very much discounted to enable your stakeholders to engage in that way. You might have mobile or tablet, so again we're working with a lot of fundraising type organisations who do community events and local community events, and they're, rather than go out and get people to fill in forms at events, they're handing a tablet out and basically getting people to put in their details and do online payments via a tablet. So rather than the money go somewhere else, they're immediately getting people there and then, so you don't have to worry about people having cash with them. It's really more accessible. So there's a trend towards having tablets out and about at community events to get information and take payments that way. You might have website access, so what that means is you might actually have forms on your website, information where people fill in their information, and that data comes straight into your CRM. And again, website platforms can integrate with CRMs in different ways depending on the platform you use. You might have a web chat functionality, so that's where it's becoming an increasing trend, but you can enable web chat, which means if somebody lands on your website, then you might start talking to them immediately and create that immediate relationship with them. That's proven to improve engagement outcomes massively. So there's quite often cost implications with that, but you can get web chat facilities that integrate with the CRM. So if you have a conversation with somebody, you can quickly and easily record that conversation and it goes into your CRM system. And finally, social media. So there's lots of different platforms. Charlotte's going to touch on some of these, where the information that you gather or you have conversations with people via social media, you can gather those conversations and store them in your CRM. But the minimum you should do within a CRM is retain people's social media handles and track if you're following them or not, or you've engaged with them. So you should have their Facebook page, their Twitter, if they've given you this information, you ask for it, and if they give it to you, you've got it, and then in your CRM you track whether you've actually physically then followed them and found them. So there's a real clear management process there to, you know, well, have we done this? Are we following them or not? And you've got that level of transparency in the system. So lots of different ways you can collect data. As I say, you want to get it into a CRM. And within a CRM, these are all the different things that we've got you want to start collecting. So stakeholder data intelligence. Now, demography, understanding who your stakeholders are. Obviously, you want to abide by data protection. You want to only ask what is most relevant to them. So you might want to start tracking demography. You might internally rank people by level of influence. So you might have an internal ranking process where you start to sort of think, well, actually, these are people we need to sort of really track, maybe MPs, press, so you can have a level of influence in there. You need to start thinking about communication preferences. So how do people want you to engage with them? Is it via email, text, post, and start to have opt-ins for different ways to engage. You want to track level of engagement. So how many times have they been to events? You know, how many hours of support have they given you? Have they given you investment? So thinking about an algorithm or a formula for level of engagement is really interesting, and we get that quite a bit with projects now. So you start to sort of look at the information within your CRM and give them a level of engagement sort of formula, if you like. As I mentioned, social media handles within a CRM is useful. Tracking what financial input they've made, whether that's a donation or a community investment like share or crowdfunding. Gathering their interests about what they want to receive information about. So are they interested in volunteering or not, or attending certain events. Tracking the number of interactions you've had with them. So that, as I say, is emails, phone calls, and tracking relationships between different stakeholders. So are stakeholders part of the same family, or is a stakeholder part of a business, like a managing director of a business, a trustee of a charity, but also a family that attend events. So understanding who people are within, you know, an individual themselves or how they relate to other people is important. Talking further about levels of engagement within a CRM, you know, this is where it goes beyond a spreadsheet. A CRM is about client relationship management. So you could collect all of this data we've just talked about here on, you know, on a spreadsheet, arguably. But when you get to level of engagement, what you want to do is track all of your engagement with them. So when they register interest, you've tracked that. You can track any event they've attended, so you've got that history of every event they attended, every volunteering session that they did with you, and whether they're a volunteer. You know, how much they've donated and how often, how they've supported you in different ways, how often they've purchased from you, whether they've worked for you, or whether they're indeed a partner. So these are just some of the ways. This isn't an infinitive list, but it's about tracking ongoing interactions, involvement over time. So if you look at somebody in the system, you can see everything you've done with them and analyse that on an individual level. But indeed, you can aggregate it as well. So having real-time analytics at a complete big picture view will help you shape your strategy. It will help you to understand if you're engaging with the right audience, who you want to focus on, think about different ways of communicating with them, which Talia will sort of talk about in her webinar. And overall, this helps with intuitive client relationships and improved team visibility. So they're two of the sort of main reasons why you would do this. And the third element, which is becoming increasingly important, is around data protection. But also holding data securely. So particularly community businesses, you might have different staff members, things stored on different spreadsheets. Are the laptops secure or not? Have you got a shared filing system? All of that sort of stuff you can start to address using digital tools and indeed CRM systems. So Technomic Change, we specialise in Salesforce CRM. The reason we use Salesforce is they offer 10 free user licenses to charities and also with a non-profit organisations. You have to apply to check your eligibility, but they're normally quite generous. So beyond the 10 free licenses, they'll give you additional discounted licenses, which is 75% off the main price. Within a CRM system, you know, we look at Salesforce because it is one of the largest CRM platforms, but it's very manageable at a local level. Ideally, within a CRM, these are all the things that you should be able to do. You should be able to manage all your stakeholders and capture information, manage security, and allow it to be, editable and visible to the right people. You can manage your contracts and team coordination. You can track your beneficiaries, your customers, and the impact that you're having. You can manage your sales pipeline, your online payments and your fundraising. You can track events and event management and online payments for events. You can manage all your marketing, any marketing campaigns, and you can also manage HR. So these are all the solutions that we put into place for our clients. Now, I'm not saying, I'd definitely check out Salesforce. It's something that we can sort of support you on, but there's also other CRM systems out there that you should definitely consider. So the main thing I want you to think about, if you don't already, is to sort of look at getting a CRM system that will help you manage all of your information and give you real-time analytics. So these are a couple of dashboards where you can see graphs giving you feedback about income and about volunteer time automatically. So you want to have that real-time data at your fingertips. So, as I mentioned, we've worked with quite a lot of community organisations about going digital, which cover a wide range of use cases that we've just talked about there. So, hopefully that's giving you a bit of insight about what we consider best practice of capturing information, storing and managing information. So, it's a natural fit then to move on to Talia now. So, I'm going to hand over to Talia to talk about segmentation of that data that you're collecting and how you can start to map out a communication strategy. So Talia, I'll make you presenter if you want to unmute yourself. Hang on a second. Great, over to you, Talia.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Talia King. I'm the marketing manager here at Economic Change, and I am going to talk to you a bit about digital communications this afternoon. So, building on what Heather's been talking to you about, I also work with a Kent-based charity, Canterbury's Trust, which runs a number of community businesses. So, I'm going to try and draw some examples of the work that I do with them when I'm talking to you today. So let's talk about communications. So I'm going to run you through what we're going to cover in the slides very briefly, just so you've got an idea of what to expect. So we're going to talk about what is digital communications, looking at your digital customer and understanding your digital customer, matching your digital customer to your communications tools, looking at mapping out the digital customer experience and give you some example customer journeys. And then I'm going to give you a few top tips for creating impactful digital campaigns, looking specifically at things like content creation, creating online communities, and also looking at how you use your email data. Okay, so with that in mind, let's have a quick look at a quote which defines what is digital. So communications that are facilitated through content and interactive services delivered by different digital technology platforms. Okay, so taking it through, let's have a look at your digital customer. So as a community business, there'd be a range of people you would consider to be your digital customer, whether that would be purchasers, whether that would be supporters, whether that would be volunteers. But something that they all have in common is that digitally they're increasingly comfortable online, they're increasingly comfortable with this medium, and they expect a lot from you. So they will expect to interact anywhere at any time with you. They want a personalised experience. They want something which is tailored to them individually, and they also want for all interactions to be easy and fast. So a bit of a fascinating fact for you, the average digital attention span is 8 seconds, which is less than a goldfish, according to Microsoft. So looking in more detail at your digital customers, traditionally, segmentation methods are used to reach out to a particular audience group. So to give you an example, for business, you might segment by geography, you might segment by an SIC, which is a standard industry code. You might look at an organisation size, turnover, employees, revenue, that kind of thing. But this is evolving with the kind of digital marketplace. So it's often used by a lot of digital organisations, the creation of personas. So yes, this is me, if you were wondering, with my family. And this is an example from a local community farm to give you an idea of a persona that we might produce. So local yummy mummy, within a certain age group, children under the age of 4, educated, they know what they want for their children and to give them the best start in life, disposable income, certain family income, they spend a certain amount of time daily online, they use their iPhone and smartphone to keep in touch, to research, to share tips and recipes, they use Facebook as their main social media platform as well as Pinterest and Twitter. They make decisions based upon these recommendations from others online, and they expect a high quality experience too. They do like to buy local and they support local businesses too, as well as shopping online, and they are very vocal when they do and they don't receive the level of quality they expect. So that gives you an example of a customer persona, and of course you can see in that persona the traditional segmentation methods are kind of cut across that. So you would still segment geographically for your local audience, for example, or by income or by age, but it's just building those layers of detail to give you much more of a picture, a person of who your customer is. Okay, so now you've looked at your digital customers, how do you use the right tools to engage those local customers? So inevitably, the digital journey will start with search. So think about your web pages, make sure that they're optimized for SEO, and also consider using your own blog, which is a great tool for SEO as well as communication. And think about other local blogs, you know, other local businesses that blog, other local bloggers who are quite active in the area and might be willing to kind of support you reciprocally. Anything like that is brilliant for search, for organic search. When you're looking at pay-per-click, so Google AdWords, for example, think about how to make your business locally stand out in strong competition. So going back to your personas and your customer groups, so think about your niche strength in relation to what they're looking for, and that can often help you to get good standout in a kind of a busy environment. Just a quick tip about free AdWords through Google, which you can claim through organisations like Technology Trust, and there's a link in the slide. And then other tools which you can use to support your local digital communication. So digital advertising locally with local businesses or local media outlets. It can be really good for building awareness, and it can strengthen your brand presence. And also things like local advertorial, again, can help with your organic search terms. And again, local PR and comms, so looking online at relevant PR outlets, so local media organisations online, other bloggers and other vocal active channels for you to get your message out. Okay, so we've looked at who your customer might be and how to reach them. So now we're going to think a little bit about mapping that experience for your customer. So, you know, look at your personas. What do they want and need from you? How do they buy? When and where do they buy? What is the purchase decision for that group of people? Is it need? Is it alignment with your social aims, for example? Is it because you're local? Or is it a match of those kind of a blend of those things? So, and how can that differ between your services? And importantly, how do they find us or your competitors? So, you know, drawing on from, we talked about search and online presence. I'm going to talk to you in a bit about customer journey mapping, so how you kind of follow that through, and also marketing automation, which feeds into what Heather was talking to you about, CRM. So increasingly, the customer journey is becoming more and more automated. It's becoming more and more easy for us to automate the customer journey. So to give you an example, things like MailChimp can trigger emails based upon an action taken from an email. So on a particular website page, to then trigger a follow-up email, to then further that customer journey without any manual intervention, which can be really useful from a resource point of view, and also it gives you much more of a relationship, an ongoing relationship, as opposed to just sending an email and it's stopping there. So it's much more of a process. And that allows for much greater interaction across the whole decision-making process for your customers with minimal intervention. So just to give you some examples, so you might create an engaging content piece on your blog. It might be then optimized to be found by your audience in the way that I described to you before. You would then encourage them to sign up to view that content, whatever it might be. So it might be to sign up for a newsletter, or just give you some personal detail which you can then capture on that visitor and then go into your CRM system. So you can start to build a picture of how your activity is interacting with them, and what's resonating and what's building interest, but also start to build up that personalised customer journey about how they've come in, what they're interested in, and then how you can best meet that. So then to lead it into a tailored customer journey map. So just to give you a slightly broader example. So you've created your content, you've got the data from your sign up, that's gone directly into your CRM system. So you could then encourage newsletter opt-in by email. You might then send out an information pack on your product or service to encourage more interaction and to build the kind of awareness of a product. You would then perhaps follow that person on social media, who then hopefully would follow you back. You might then invite them to watch a webinar, for example, to ask more questions or to look into a subject in more detail. You could then follow that up with an online payment form link on how to invest or how to purchase. And then you can send more regular news out as well to kind of celebrate milestones, supporters, achievements and aspirations as a way of engaging and reaffirming that purchase decision with that person. Okay, so we've looked at the journey. We've looked at your customers, so I'm just going to give you a few top tips for how to create impactful digital campaigns. So I think we're clear that communication should be personalised, they should be built around your customer personas, your customer needs, your previous interactions with your customers, so that you can demonstrate, you listen and you understand what they want from you. And again, in terms of a campaign, you'll need to consider several different campaign messages, per campaign, per persona and per segment, to make sure that that is tailored to them. So make sure that you do integrate your digital with any offline content. So from a brand point of view, make sure that things are consistent, make sure that everything is integrated, and that helps to build a strong and impactful campaign, as well as helping a brand build your brand. So create digital plans with clear purpose and set objectives. Now, it seems quite a simple thing to say. Actually, it's not often done. So make sure you're clear on what your objectives are from your digital campaigns. What do you want to achieve in terms of income, in terms of engagement, in terms of return on investment, for example? Make sure you're clear on how they also fit with your broader objectives, so your organisation objectives, for example. Make sure you select the appropriate tools to help best achieve those objectives, and we've talked a bit about that, and I'll also go on to talking a bit more about content and some more detail about the tools. And also just a tip to remember to factor in resourcing capabilities and any outsourcing requirements that you might need. I know budget is often an issue here, but often it can be more effective to outsource, but you need to take that into consideration, obviously, in your budget and your plans. And again, just to reiterate what I said about objectives, give clear measures and indicators of success. You know, what does success look like for your digital campaign? What do you expect from it? And again, this is where CRM comes in incredibly helpful. But real-time tracking and measurement of your campaigns, you know, keep on top of the data, look at what's working, look at what's not working, and don't be afraid to tweak activity where things aren't happening where you thought they might do, you know, and use that data to inform your future activity for your campaigns. Learn, you know, make sure that it's a continual cycle of improvement so that you can make your marketing communications better and more impactful, and also offer more value for money for you as an organisation. So just on to more tips around email data, really. And email data gives you an enormous opportunity to communicate, and it's often one which is underused, and it's often one that's also used in a kind of a wrong way. So use it to spread news, use it to spread good news about achievements, about impact, about things that have happened as a result of the work that you do. Use it to encourage a membership base if you have one, to encourage and engage volunteers if you have volunteers. It serves to remind, inform, persuade and differentiate you from your competitors locally. So keep your organisation in mind of your customers, and also to help reaffirm that kind of brand positioning. It also helps to signpost alternative products and services to an engaged audience who want to talk to you. And again, I think, as I mentioned, it helps you to reaffirm brand affinity and your purchase decisions, and increase that regular engagement with your brand. So at the point of purchase, you're at the top of the, you know, the top of the tree. And again, just to go back to what I was saying about MailChimp, so email can be sent as part of the customer sale or life cycle. So it could be on membership expiry, it could be a 6-monthly customer survey, but you know, it can be used very effectively in this way. Okay, so this is just a little chart which I'm very keen on. Heather will tell you that. It's looking at the digital content that you produce to engage. So everyone talks about the importance of digital content and how to use social media and why to use social media, but this just gives you a bit of a picture on how to structure your content, and also how to get the right balance of content, because any any campaign needs to have a mix between content which is rational, so it helps to educate with things like articles and ebooks, press releases, guides, trends, to the emotional, which is the kind of entertainment, light-hearted, you know, we've all seen the funny pictures on Facebook that get 1 million shares. But then what would then help your customers to purchase? So there's some examples here. I'm not sure about celebrity endorsements. Perhaps we have used that a couple of times actually at the farm, but you know, community forums, reviews, and then in the convince side. So when you're selling perhaps more business to business in a lot of this chart, but you know, what are your product features? Can you demo it? Is there a checklist? What does it cost? Can you give case studies to demonstrate how interacting with your brand has worked for the better for other people? So in terms of creating content as well, there are brilliant companies like Canva.com, for example, who provide really simple tools to help you create strong branded digital content. They've also got a not-for-profit arm which offers free business user packages for not-for-profits, charities, kicks. So it's worth having a look, and I'll share the URL with you at the end of the presentation. Social media can often be an important element for community businesses, as it gives that access to the, you know, it enables you to access local people. It gives you that demographic information. It's very easy for you to track and report on as well, and it can be quite cost effective. So hopefully this has given you an idea about how you can kind of build upon your content and your mix. And I know that Charlotte's going to talk to you shortly, and she's going to give you some examples as well about certain campaigns using social media. You'll be pleased to know this is my last slide. So the last thing is looking at creating and engaging online communities. So communities are a vital element of the social business, enriching the customer experience and enabling co-creation of customer value. Smart businesses understand the benefits of tapping into the collective intelligence of their customers. Very sensible. So, but in a nutshell, your customers, your local customers, can help shape your business, and they should control the agenda. So the benefit of creating and engaging an online community is that they can help you reduce your costs and help you drive local sales. Your customers can give you instant feedback and help you to shape your products and services, which means that you're always going to be relevant in the marketplace. And they can provide 360-degree engagement with you and also for you, which helps you to provide transparency and visibility within your community. Well, I hope that's been useful today. I'm going to hand back to Heather now.
Thanks very much, Talia, for that overview around strategy. I think it's good to think about the who you're targeting, the journey of different interactions and how you start to build up a relationship with people, because I think it's always true that people need to see or hear things 3 times quite often, because everybody's so busy these days, in order to really engage. So being able to use different methods to continually sort of pass out the same message and to eventually engage them, i.e. you've done the first thing and then the second thing and the third thing, and that's the third thing is what really just then sort of converts them to whether it's even becoming a volunteer or donating or purchasing. That journey is really important, and then analysing that. So it made me think, actually, one of the things that I should have done as part of the slide earlier is the lead source. Where has somebody come from? That was something that we always collect in the CRM system for clients, and actually missed off the conversation there. So that's ultimately something to add into data collection, is how did you hear about us, so you can analyse the performance of your marketing initiative. So good point. So great, thank you. So handing over to Charlotte, over to you.
Thanks Heather, and thanks Talia, that was really good. I'm just going to go through a few concrete examples of how people are engaging through digital. So I'm Charlotte, I'm the Communications Manager from Power to Change. If you don't know, we're the independent trust that was set up in 2015 to support community businesses in England. We believe that no one better understands the problems and the opportunities of a community than those who live there, which is why we support local people to start businesses together so they can make a difference in their own communities, and we do that through support and funding. There's actually over 7,000 community businesses in England, so it's really exciting. There's loads and loads of potential, and loads of amazing people involved. There's over 200,000 volunteers, and you're all doing amazing stuff. So it's just about really unlocking that local potential to do even more. So we're going to look at some examples of how community businesses are engaging their community via social media. Some of this has already been talked about, but I just really wanted to give you some concrete examples. So, the first things we're going to go through, first few slides, are Facebook. Is a really good platform for local and social conversations. A lot of people are very familiar with it, even older people. So actually, it is very accessible, and we've seen that it is one of the most popular platforms to really use. So if you're only thinking of using one, this would probably be it. So you can really use Facebook to let people know about your services and events, because it helps you reach that wider audience that you might not be able to otherwise. You can only do so much leafleting, basically. And also, actually, I'd say there's a really interesting development which has been Facebook Live. So now you can live stream your events, and that makes it even more inclusive. So even if people can't attend that event, it makes them want to attend the next one and kind of understand what your business is about. It's also really good to recruit locally, and this actually makes sure that local people have power and are the decision makers in your community business. So there's lots of examples of community businesses recruiting anything from directors to cleaners to volunteers. And actually, one of the things I would say is, if you're looking for someone to support you on the digital side, particularly social media, it is worth asking help from your community. And actually, there's a lot of young people, looking for some work experience. They've got the skills, they use social day in, day out. It's very, very easy for them. However, they haven't used it in a business setting. So there's a really interesting exchange of skills that can be done there. You can also use social to celebrate your success, give thanks, reinforce your community's shared experience. So Talia mentioned this as reinforcing, that purchase decision as well. So if they have come and used your service once, it is, a really good sort of reminder of all the other services you offer. Think of it as cross-selling. And then also evidence. So, for example, you've got the Mechanics Institution Trust over here. This is one of the, it shows that they were in the local press. Those are the sort of things that you really want to share, because then it really makes people understand how important you are and that they are part of that as well. So it's a really nice shared experience. Down here we've got some progress photos from the library in Kensal Rise, which is being saved by the community. So again, you're kind of celebrating that achievement altogether. And here it's a really nice thank you to volunteers who came and helped. Behind the scenes content is really powerful on social media, because it really makes people feel that, again, they're part of this thing, they have access where other people wouldn't. Whether it's a tour that's been taken, or for example here, this is an oyster farm, and actually, only the volunteers doing the farming would see this, but it's amazing to be able to capture it and share it. So as Talia said, think about your different customers. You're going to create different content for different types of persona, depending what you're trying to achieve, but it's really good to give a well-rounded view of your community business. Not only does it sell things and give services to local people, provide services to local people, but it's more than that. It's also a really strong community. It's a social thing. It's reinforcing a local identity. So there's, you should be able to show all those different facets. Really good opportunity to give local people a voice, and that could either be by asking them to fill out a survey and telling them what they think about your business. You could use, again, Heather and Talia have talked about surveys already and getting feedback, but Typeform is a free survey tool, really user-friendly. It's got a really nice interface, so recommend that one. And also, make sure that people are heard locally. If there are decisions being made, consultations, so for example, there's one in Brent Council, they were asking, what local people wanted money to be used on, then, make sure that your community has that say, because actually that's going to directly relate to your business as well. So it's really important to be part of those conversations. Now, going away from Facebook, all of those things I just talked about, you could also put across other channels. I won't go into it in more detail at the moment, but the main thing I would say is stick to Facebook for most of those, because it's a really good platform for all those conversations. However, I would recommend Twitter. I know a lot of people are not so sure about it, but actually, if you want to become influential in your area, it's really, really powerful. Use it for events, use it to follow people that inspire you, and also engage directly with them. You know, if you want to talk to the mayor, follow them on Twitter and tweet them. You know, you can obviously try and get an appointment, but sometimes you have to go for the direct approach. So I would recommend it. I know that some people have definitely been successful doing this. So, you know, if you want to influence, get on Twitter and get tweeting as well. Don't be just one of those people that just retweets things. You've got an opinion, you've got an amazing community business, talk about it. Storify, I just wanted to mention quickly, which is a really interesting tool. It's free, all of these are free, and it actually allows you to post-event, pull different types of content and create like a visual story. So you can put different tweets, and you can also put documents. So for example, if someone referred to a case study, you can put that in there. So you kind of create your own version of something after an event. So it can be really good rather than writing a blog post. Sometimes you run out of time, and actually a lot of people have said great things during the event, so you can just pull them all together. So I'd recommend that's worth a look. And this is a sort of content that, you know, can really make people interested. If it's an event they couldn't attend or something, then it can be really helpful. A lot of people say they don't have time to do social media. That's one of the barriers people come across again and again. But there are tools out there, including Hootsuite. There's others like Buffer that can help you schedule your social media, and it can help you schedule it for different channels as well. So you can have Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think you can have an Instagram on there as well. So really, it's really, really useful, and actually it gives you that oversight so that you can see, are you being strategic about your communications? You know, if you are going to put stuff on Twitter or Facebook, are you doing it at different times of day for different audiences with different types of content? You know, you don't want content to clash. You want to have that kind of strategic overview of what you're saying and what's going out. Talia mentioned this earlier as well, so just wanted to talk about Canva quickly. It's a really good free tool. It's got lots and lots of amazing templates to create everything from posters to social media, like graphics, infographics, email headers. It's a great tool. It's very, very easy to use, and it just makes everything look more professional. So definitely have a look at that. And also mentioned was MailChimp a few times, so do think about setting up a regular newsletter. All of these tools are free, which is amazing. You know, you can go and pay a bit more and access more content on them and more functionality, but the free versions really do offer quite a lot. And then I just wanted to talk about support and funding that is available. So Power to Change supports and funds community businesses through lots and lots of different types of program. I'm going to talk about four I think today, just briefly, which are open or just about to open. So we've got our Bright Ideas Fund, which is for community groups looking to start a business together who need a little bit of advice and a little bit of funding to get their idea off the ground. That's open until the end of May. There'll be another round in September if you're not quite ready for that. We've got another fund which is very similar, but it's specifically for people who want to save a local pub. It's called the More Than Pub Programme. That's open for another while. It's an open program, so you can apply anytime. The Community Business Fund is for existing community businesses to get funding for a project which will make their business more sustainable. So it could be developing a new income stream in their business, which will make them more self-sustaining. And that's going to open in the summer, June, July, I think. And then the final one, which is open now as well, is our Community Business Leaders Program. So if you are part of a community business and you're really interested in exploring leadership and actually becoming a bit of a voice for this whole sector in England, which is quite an exciting opportunity, I would really recommend the 6-month program. It's amazing. You meet lots of incredible people. You get training from the RSA, Rio and Sheffield University Management School, and yeah, it's really good, and it's open at the moment. We're recruiting our southern cohort, so the south of England, East and Midlands. You're probably wondering, oh, how do I know about all of these? Where can I find it all out? Go to our website, it's all on there, and I would really recommend you sign up to our newsletter because it does have a lot of news about upcoming programs and funding and support and events that can help you. And some of those we can help you. You can sort of, as part of what you're going for, ask for help with digital strategy. It would just depend what it is for. I can't really go into more detail because each program is so specific, but definitely have a look at the guidance and see if it's something that would be relevant. Great, thanks.
Great, thanks, Charlotte. That was a really good overview and some really great, interesting case studies. And I think just reflects. So I'm just going to expand my screen again. This really reflects, I guess, the ultimate goals really around, why go digital, and to summarize, why capture data, why analyze and manage data and use it. We talk about data, but it's people, right? You want to build relationships with people and understand who they are and their interests, and really manage your client relationships as well as possible. So ultimately your goals as an organization are, maybe to raise investment, to gather volunteers, to build your supporter base, to have customers, and to develop partners. They're the ultimate goals. And the idea for this webinar today really came from one of our economic exchange events we ran last year, which was around community investment and community shares. And we had a crowdfunder UK came, and they really did advocate that actually those organisations that adopted digital and all those tools that Charlotte was talking about, like Facebook and Twitter, really use those extensively, were the ones that raised the money, raised their community shares or raised the funding they wanted for their community business project. And so, they really did notice that, and that's why I really wanted to kind of really share some tips today and to encourage that. So Charlotte kindly mentioned a bit about Parish Change and different sources of funding there. We've also got a list here of different funding sources. So access impact management. This is predominantly around measuring impact. So it would be about talking about engaging with beneficiaries and supporting that journey. You could look at Big Potential Advanced, which is all about becoming investment ready or contract ready, and about using digital communication methods as part of that process. Again, all of these have different angles, so you've really got to, you've got to focus on, well, why do we want to go digital? Why do we want to communicate? What do we want to achieve from that? How is it going to make us a better organisation? And then look at the funding that is available and to see whether it fits with that objective. So, we're an approved provider for Power to Change around sort of business strategy. So if you get a grant with them, you may be eligible to sort of get a grant to help with this. Again, I think that criteria is changing, so it is at a point in time basis. But we're an approved provider for a couple of other funding pots, so it's worth chatting to us. As I mentioned, the non-profits can apply for temporary and discounted licenses from Salesforce.org, so that can be a tool that's available at a pretty good, pretty good or free rate for 10 licenses, and You can integrate free integrations, so MailChimp can integrate with Salesforce for free as part of that process. And the other offer that we also run for small community business organisations is our charity discount programme. So we run a programme called Salesforce Super Mums that trains female returners to work as Salesforce trainees, so they can enter into careers in the Salesforce ecosystem. So we can offer either a 6-day or 12-day project with some free days of support. So a 6-day project, you would pay for 3 days and get 3 days free, where a trainee does some work on that project, and a 12-day project you get 6 days free with the trainee support. So we've got our next cohort of mums. We've got 7 mums starting in a couple of weeks. We'd be looking for projects. Currently we've got to confirm 7 projects happening between June and September. So obviously we are talking to charities already as part of that, but that's something you might be interested in applying for, because it will give you a discount on the types of things it covers is customizing the CRM to capture the data you need, to train you on how to use it, to help you integrate things like MailChimp and all of those sort of resources. Something I also wanted to add is that, touching on what Charlotte said, is if you're looking for support with social media like Facebook and Twitter, the other similar scheme to our Salesforce Mums program is called Digital Mums, and I have a digital mum that works with us at Economic Change. So Digital Mums, similarly like what we're doing, trains mums in digital skills, and these mums are either in a training in the training period where they're looking for an example project to work on, or they're now looking for part-time sort of work and looking to engage. And so that's a pretty good resource to tap into if you're looking for some support with digital skills, as well as obviously the sort of the CRM capabilities. So nobody's asked any questions yet, so now's the time. If you want to ask any questions before we close the webinar, please do, and we can just field those amongst the presenters. But hopefully that has been useful and given you some ideas and different ways of, as I say, either capturing, managing or communicating to different audiences. So yeah, thank you very much for joining. If you've got any questions, we'll just wait a few more minutes for any questions on the line. Right, so everybody seems to no questions coming forward. So hopefully you can obviously drop us an email afterwards if you have other questions. We will send out the webinar as a recording and a PowerPoint slide, and we will sum up the key points that we've covered today within a blog. So you will hopefully get a condensed version that you can send to people. Thank you very much for the feedback. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and hope you all have a great day. Thank you very much. Thank you to Talia and Charlotte as well for joining us and giving us insight.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye. Take care, bye.